Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of big news to share with all of you today. Today's date is September 20th, 2025, and it's Saturday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend so far. We have so much huge news to cover with this war update, as last night Ukrainian drones were going after a lot of major oil and gas infrastructure inside of Russia. Several big hits have been reported. So let's start off with this story here on your screen. Ukrainian drones hit Russia's Saratov and Novokuybashevsk oil refineries. The General Staff also added in its announcement that it had damaged the main transport infrastructure facility in Samara. It said that explosions and fires had been recorded. So massive story today. This is going to be a picture coming out from the Novokuybashevsk oil refinery located in the Samara Oblast of Russia. We also had the Saratov oil refinery, a photo for you guys on the thumbnail before you came in here. That's going to be located in the Saratov Oblast of Russia, right next door to where the Novokuybashevsk oil refinery is located at. So two huge hits overnight. These are both oil refineries that have been attacked recently. I think it was just a couple days ago the Saratov oil refinery was attacked. Ukraine went ahead and struck it again overnight. I've got pictures and videos coming out from both of those facilities. Also, this main transport infrastructure facility, we'll talk about that also. This is very critical to Russian oil exports. This is like a major dispatch station that Russian crude oil passes through before it goes into oil pipelines out onto ports to be exported. So very big news. Also, Ukraine's SBU and Special Operations Forces struck multiple pumping stations on a major pipeline, also running from the Samara region to Russia's Krasnodar Krai Oblast, halting oil flows to the port of Novorossiysk. That's absolutely huge as well. We've been hearing that there could be a lot of attacks onto the port of Novorossiysk. Ukraine went after multiple pumping stations. That's a major pipeline that fuels oil over to this port, and we know that's a major port that Russia uses to export oil. Also overnight, Russia carried out a massive attack onto Ukraine. Over 500 drones and about 40 missiles were being fired. Lots of damage reported across Ukraine and different regions. As you can see, a lot of news to cover. Let's go ahead and jump into this. We're going to hop on over to X with Visioner. It says 3 strategic facilities in the Russian Federation were attacked by the defense forces last night, according to the General Staff of Ukraine. Ukrainian drones struck the Saratov oil refinery, 7 million tons of oil per year. Novokuybashevsk oil refinery in the Samara region, 8.8 million tons per year. Samara Linear Production and Dispatch Station, where Urals export oil is formed, up to 50% of all Russian exports. All facilities supply the Russian army. The consequences of the attacks are being clarified. Okay, so clearly Ukraine stepping up the pressure on Russia, really going after these oil refineries. I mean, it's pretty much every day now, at least 1 or 2 oil refineries are being hit. In this case today, the Saratov and Novokuybashevsk oil refineries coming under attack. And talking about this linear production and dispatch station also located in Samara, you can see here, it says up to 50% of all Russian exports could be affected if this facility is shut down. So that is huge. We know that Urals is a major crude oil that Russia exports to nations like India and China. So the drone sanctions are continuing inside of Russia and being very effective overnight. Now, Noel reports, according to Babel.ua, SBU and Special Operations Forces drones struck multiple pumping stations on the Kuybyshev-Tikhoretsk pipeline overnight, halting oil flows to the port of Novorossiysk. Fires broke out at Zavodka, and Sokozhnaya-2 and the Samara dispatcher station, forcing shutdowns. Okay, so possibly this oil pipeline running from the Samara region, which is going to be coming from like the Novokuybashev and also the Kuybyshev oil refineries down to the port of Novorossiysk, being affected with these pumping stations being attacked. And apparently, according to this information, it forced shutdowns of this pipeline. So that is huge. That's really going to affect exports going to this major port, and we know Russia brings in a lot of revenue from the Novorossiysk port in the Krasnodar Krai region. I'll show you guys on a map here in just a moment. So from Drone Bomber now. Approximate flight routes of our UAVs. Red arrow indicates directions of strike and jet-powered UAVs. All information on the routes is taken from Russian sources. Here is a map being released overnight showing the trajectory of drones going into Russia. So the major regions we're talking about today is going to be Saratov right here, probably about 500-600 kilometers from the border of Ukraine down here. Saratov oil refinery located right here in the city of Saratov in the Volga region, they call it, or Volga Oblast, I think. And then also the Samara region going to be over here. Just right next door is where the Novokuybyshev oil refinery is located. Two of these major refineries hit. And then also we've got that huge pipeline that runs from the city of Samara down here to the port of Novorossiysk, to the city of Tikhoretsk, which is going to be a little bit more on the eastern side of the Krasnodar Oblast. And apparently this oil pipeline being affected from all these pumping stations being attacked along the way. So there's absolutely huge news today, guys. Lots of information to cover. So you can see a lot of drones really going into Russia, some going on up over here to Moscow overnight as well. Don't have any information, unfortunately, as to what was being attacked up here. Looks like we also had drones heading down here towards the Krasnodar, possibly the Stavropol Oblast of Russia as well. Now from Special Kherson Cat, Saratov oil refinery is under drone attack right now. Saratov oil refinery has a capacity of 7 million tons of oil per year. This is the third attack on this refinery since 2nd of August. Previously, it was targeted on August 10th, 2025 and September 16th, 2025. So you can see just 4 days ago, Ukraine had attacked this facility and also one time back in August. Here's video coming out overnight showing a fire that broke out on the Saratov oil refinery as it was attacked by numerous drones. So we can see definitely a fire there on this facility and most likely to be causing some repairs, possibly even shutdowns here to this plant. Now for more translated, Saratov oil refinery was hit by a drone overnight on September 20th. So we've got some good video here showing a drone going right for this facility. There's explosions nearby, lots of different videos within this clip here, 49 seconds. Take a look at this.
Вот он летит. Вот летит.
Вижу.
Он на век ёбнулся. Вот он летит.
All right, so it looks like the Saratov oil refinery came under a massive attack. There's a drone dropping right on the facility right there. And yeah, we heard at one point here in this video, there was a clip that we could hear lots of gunfire from Russian air defense teams trying to shoot down this massive drone swarm that was attacking the facility. Still waiting for more details, but we know at least one or two possible fires here broke out. You can see a huge one right there. Looks like on the top of a smokestack or something. Definitely some major damage over here at the Saratov oil refinery. Now for Max 25, it says drones of the unmanned system forces attacked the Saratov oil refinery, according to Dnipro Ozent. This is going to be an open source intelligence group right here. And it says the torch is burning. Several arrivals were recorded, one of them to the primary oil processing unit, ELOU-AVT-6, the main and only one at the plant. So Dnipro Ozent reporting today that possibly a primary oil processing unit was hit over here, and they were also geolocating some of these videos and kind of showing where people were recording these videos from and showing that two major smokestacks, looks like a tower right here that was on fire. Also, this smokestack was producing fire on the top of it as well. That's what we were seeing in some of these videos that were coming out. And also here's another one showing the angle of where somebody was recording at. Looks like they were in this building over here on this bottom side of this picture, and also showing these two major fires at this plant. So it looks like we had at least two direct strikes on that facility and causing major fires over here. Also from NOAA reports, according to Cyber Baroshno's analysis, the drone strike on the Saratov refinery likely hit the loading rack area, not the processing units. Okay, so after Cyber Baroshno, this is another open source intelligence group. After their analysis, they believe that maybe it wasn't an oil processing unit that was struck, that possibly it was a loading rack area. Okay, so they were also showing here that these towers were producing fire here on the top after we had this major attack. So I guess we'll wait for further confirmation. Just wanted to share what some of the open source intelligence groups are talking about today. One believes that it could be a major processing unit that was attacked. Also, this other one, Cyber Barashno, believes it was maybe a loading rack area. But you guys let me know what you think here. Now, from Ozen Technical, Ukrainian forces successfully struck an additional Russian oil refinery last night, with drones hitting Rosneft's Novokuybishevsk refinery. The refinery could be seen burning early this morning from nearby towns. So here's that picture coming out that we had for you guys on the waiting screen, showing a pretty huge fire over here. So it looks like this facility may have been hit even harder than the Saratov oil refinery. I mean, that's a pretty massive blaze over here. We've got more information now. This one from War Translated. A drone strike hit the Novokuybishevsk oil refinery in Russia's Samara region during the night of September 20th. We've got a 19-second clip here showing a huge blaze at the facility close up. Take a look at this. All right, on top of this huge fire that we can see from the Novokuybishevsk oil refinery, also heard a massive explosion in this video. Not sure exactly what that was. Maybe it was another drone strike on the plant, or maybe possibly something blowing up over there that caught on fire. So crazy news today. 2 major oil refineries going down. Now, War Translated. A Ukrainian strike hit a Russian air defense site near Lake Chokrak on the Kerch Peninsula overnight. Crimea Wind reports via satellite imagery. Okay, so we had some NASA firms maps that were reporting a major fire on a potential air defense position for the Russians down here in Crimea, and Ukraine continues to do this, destroying air defense positions, radar positions for the Russian military. And we also know they've been deploying some other drones that they haven't used for a long time. I think they're called Bayraktar drones. These are based on Turkish drones. And these are drones that were used widely towards the start of the year before Russia had a lot of air defense positions inside of Crimea. And we know that Ukraine is starting to deploy a lot of those down here now due to a lot of these air defense and radar positions being destroyed. So Ukraine continues to blind the Russians down here and knock out their air defense positions on the Crimean Peninsula, and also in this case going to be located near the Kerch Peninsula or the Kerch Strait. Now for Max 25, Putin is escalating attacks on Ukraine as he believes Trump will not intervene, and Ukraine rejected his territorial demands at the August summit. Bloomberg reports citing Kremlin sources. Here's a report today. Putin decides he can step up attacks on Kiev and Trump won't act. Okay, so yeah, inside of Ukraine today, that's what we're going to move on to, is these major attacks onto more critical civilian infrastructure, homes being hit by missiles. You're going to see a lot of crazy videos here in just a moment. But yeah, Bloomberg reporting today that that Russia is going to be stepping up attacks onto Ukraine. There was also some information earlier that I was seeing that Russia might start going after a lot of Ukraine's energy facilities. We've already seen that a lot in the past, but Russia might be stepping up more attacks, trying to destroy energy inside of Ukraine. Also, we're about to get into winter over there, so energy is going to be a very critical resource for the Ukrainians as it gets very cold over there. So let me know what you think on this story. Do you think that Russia is going to step up attacks onto Ukraine? And do you think that Trump is not going to react in any way by helping out Ukraine with these massive strikes? Now from NOAA reports, overnight, Russia launched a massive attack on Ukraine using drones, ballistic, and cruise missiles. Energy sites and residential areas were hit. Dnipro saw direct strikes. An apartment block was destroyed, leaving casualties and cutting water and power. Pavlorad faced drone and missile attacks. A large fire broke out at industrial facilities in Mykolaiv. In Kiev, debris from intercepted drones caused fires in Sofievska, and Borshahivka, if I'm saying that right. Sorry, guys, might be butchering the names of these. I tried my best, but yeah, pictures like this coming out today. Lots of civilian infrastructure being destroyed. Looks like a drone possibly landed over here and blew up some cars inside of Ukraine overnight. Very horrible to see this, but this continues to happen inside of Ukraine. Now from Bliskovka, a map of Russian missiles and drones moving over the territory of Ukraine this night. So here's the map showing the drones and missiles. So again, right about 500 drones going into Ukraine, and also 40 missiles being fired. You can see some missiles, these red lines, we're heading on over here to the western side of Ukraine, like the Lviv region. But most of these targets looks like it was kind of on the eastern side of Ukraine with a lot of these drone attacks. We can see Donetsk region getting hit hard. Dnipro was under extreme attack. Lots of drones and missiles landing over there. Typically, when we see attacks onto Dnipro, we see a lot of missiles heading there, and you can see some were two sets of missiles going this direction towards Dnipro. Kiev being attacked a little bit. Also up here in the Cherniv region, Sumy region took some attacks as well. Just lots of explosions across Ukraine overnight with this massive attack from the Russians. All right, now from Visioner. Dnipro, Ukraine. As a result of Russian terror, according to preliminary data, 1 person was killed, 13 more were injured. Most of the victims were hospitalized in moderate condition. 1 man is in serious condition. So absolutely horrible news. But yeah, here's some pictures coming out from the city of Dnipro that came under a massive attack from Russian drones and missiles. As we can see, high-rise residential buildings taking direct hits from some of these drones. There's even a video of a missile striking one here in just a moment that I'll show you guys. This completely goes against everything the Russians have been talking about for years now, that they do not go after civilian targets inside of Ukraine. I mean, just a couple days ago, Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister out of Russia, was stating that they do not strike civilian targets inside of Ukraine, that this is Ukraine doing this. But yet we have numerous videos, pictures coming out all the time showing Russian Shahed drones slamming into residential apartments like we see here today. So absolutely horrible news out of Ukraine, but I want you guys to be aware of that. Now Max 25, power outage in Sumy after morning strike by Russia, according to the OVA. That's like the regional administration or military administration in that area. So they were indicating that a huge strike was carried out over here as well. We had a power outage in the city of Sumy after this attack. It looks like probably missiles were being fired over here. It could have been a massive drone attack as well. But yeah, lots of reports here already on energy facilities inside of Ukraine being knocked out, this one being in the Sumy region. So people are going to start running out of power here very soon, as Russia will most likely step up its attacks onto energy sites inside of Ukraine, as right now Ukraine continues to destroy Russia's oil and gas industry. Now Igor Sushko, Ukraine. Russian fascists struck an apartment building in Dnipro with a cruise missile. Yeah, this is a very frightening video. I want you guys to see this, about 12 seconds, but you're going to see a cruise missile fly over somebody's head here and slam right into the top of a residential building located in the city of Dnipro in central Ukraine. Take a look.
Вот! Ебать!
All right, now was this building being used by the Ukrainian armed forces? I have no clue, but to me that looks like a residential building being attacked, and we have seen this again so many times across Ukraine. Very scary video showing this missile just streaming right over this guy's head, heading for that building and slamming right into the top of it, or it looks like maybe a building right behind that. Very crazy video, probably one of the most insane videos we've seen coming out from Ukraine before. Now from NOAA reports, footage from the strike site in Dnipro shows ATB warehouses completely destroyed. Smoke is visible across the city, no military target, just another deliberate hit on civilian infrastructure. Yeah, major warehouse over here being destroyed again. We just reported a logistics center up in the Kiev region, I believe, that just came under attack by Russian drones, completely destroyed. That was just a regular civilian logistics center that was hit by drones, completely blown up. Here's another one inside of Dnipro again today.
А еще есть противогаз? Чувство противогаза есть? Вас там невозможно. Там невозможно дышать, да? Да нет, там вы не задохнетесь. Без противогаза вы не...
All right, so as we can see, once again, absolutely no military infrastructure here at all. This is just a regular civilian facility coming under attack by Russian drones or missiles. Huge damage here, debris all over the place. Looks like a vehicle also took some damage there as well. Crazy what we see happening inside of Ukraine. Now from next, a cyber attack paralyzes European airports. A cyber attack hit airport systems in Berlin, London, Brussels, and several other cities. In Berlin, access to systems was completely shut down for security reasons, leading to long lines, delays, and flight cancellations. At Heathrow, the issues were described as a technical failure. Specialists are working to restore operations while passengers are urged to check flight statuses and be prepared for cancellations. Yeah, this is another big report breaking today. Apparently, a massive cyber attack took place across Europe in multiple nations. We have huge flight delays. A lot of these airports appear to be the major targets. Some people were asking on X as well if anybody at these airports were seeing any effect due to these cyber attacks. But some people were saying that they were seeing flight delays. But many people were saying it was a technical failure or that it was due to weather or something. So the airports weren't exactly claiming it was a cyber attack. But mainstream news today is picking this story up and talking a lot about this. That a lot of these airports across Europe were hit by a massive cyber attack today. I'll continue to monitor this story. If it gets a lot worse, I'll do an update for you guys and let you know what's going on with this situation. But if we have anybody here that is in Europe that is maybe traveling or planning to travel, let us know if you have any information on any delays or anything like that on what's going on with the situation. Now, War Translated. Estonia's defense ministry published a map showing the approximate route of Russian MiG-31 jets. Moscow claims the aircraft did not violate Estonian airspace and were allegedly on a planned flight to Kaliningrad. Okay, so looks like the Estonian Defense Ministry put out a photo here to kind of show the direction that these MiG-31s were flying across Estonian airspace yesterday. You can see they were flying this direction from from east to west, and they were passing right by Tallinn. Okay, this is a major city inside of Estonia. This is the capital. Look at how close they were flying to Tallinn here. And we heard at the time that Italian F-35s were deployed to the skies to intercept these incoming MiG-31s from Russia, and they escorted them out of Estonian airspace. So it states here they had no flight plan, no transponders turned on, no two-way radio communication, and no flight permit. So apparently Russia claiming today that they did not violate Estonia's airspace like we heard yesterday, and they were apparently just heading over to Kaliningrad. We did have pictures that came out yesterday. Also, the Swedish Air Force had intercepted them also over the Baltic Sea. I'm assuming on their way to Kaliningrad. There was pictures coming out showing these MiG-31s that were flying. So crazy news today, still waiting to see what NATO's going to do. We know that also Estonia had invoked Article 4. NATO's supposed to be holding consultations to figure out how they're going to respond to this. And I have a feeling very soon we're going to be hearing that NATO's going to be stepping up more aggressive approaches towards Russia to prevent these types of violations of airspace in the future. But we'll have to see what NATO decides to do. Now from Visioner, breaking, an American B-52 strategic bomber has appeared on NATO's eastern flank. Just a few minutes ago, an American B-52 strategic bomber accompanied by supporting fighter aircraft appeared in the skies over the Czech Republic as part of the Czech Air Force Day celebrations. The formation is heading east, indicating that the United States intends to deliver an appropriate response to Russian provocations. So I don't know if this is the actual video footage of this B-52 landing or heading over to the Czech Republic. But apparently there is information today that a B-52 bomber coming from the U.S. Air Force was heading over here to the eastern flank of NATO. And could this be a response to what we have been seeing recently with all these Russian drone incursions into Poland? Also yesterday with Estonia's airspace being violated, this could possibly be a response to that we're seeing coming from the U.S. with this B-52 being deployed over there. So again, if I get more info on that, I'll let you guys know. But apparently at least one B-52 strategic bomber has appeared on NATO's eastern flank. All right, now from Bliskovka, we are negotiating with Poland and Romania on joint actions to intercept drones in western regions of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy said. So Zelenskyy did make several statements today. This was one of the things he mentioned, that right now they're working with Poland and Romania to possibly intercept drones in the western regions of Ukraine. This is in response to Russia's drone incursions onto Romania and Poland numerous times. So apparently they might be getting involved in shooting down some of these drones over western Ukraine. That could be very big news. We have been talking about that. Also says here the Russians will be destroyed in Kupiansk. Fierce fighting is currently underway there, and the armed forces of Ukraine are conducting mop-up operations inside the city. So Kupiansk is going to be a major city in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine up in the northeastern side. The Russians have been trying to infiltrate this city, and Ukraine's doing a good job of holding on to it so far. They have been approaching very closely, also trying to utilize oil pipelines or gas pipelines, to infiltrate into that city. Ukraine apparently is conducting mop-up operations over there. And it says separate modern assault troops with a drone component will be created. I believe this is an entire battalion that Ukraine is working on right now. Modern assault troops, and also they'll be equipped with drones to help out with the front line. So that's more expansion with Ukraine's army. Also says next week there should be a meeting with Trump in New York. So apparently Zelenskyy and Trump are going to be meeting in New York during the UN General Assembly. We should be seeing them discussing some details. So we'll see what comes out from that meeting next week. It also says we are ready to meet with Putin, both bilaterally and trilaterally. He is ready. So Zelenskyy also indicating he's ready to meet with Putin. We'll see if that's going to happen, but so far there is no meeting set up, and possibly Trump could join in. That's why it talks about trilateral meeting. Also, that could be Trump, Zelenskyy, and Putin. So we'll see if that's going to happen. And finally, the decision to allow men aged 18 to 22 to travel abroad was dictated, in particular by the desire to ensure that as many young people as possible finish school in Ukraine. So Zelenskyy commenting on a law that was passed recently to allow young men aged 18 to 22 to leave the country freely if they want to. Apparently that has to do with schooling, is what he's stating. Some people were saying that was a bad idea for him to do that because these people might be needed on the front line. But Ukraine's President Zelenskyy did state that this would not affect the operations on the front line for Ukraine or affect their army in any way. So just statements from Zelenskyy today. All right, now for NOAA reports, the EU is considering trade measures to curb remaining Russian oil imports via the Druzhba pipeline, which supplies Hungary and Slovakia, Bloomberg reports. Unlike sanctions, tariffs need only a majority vote. This move could fulfill a key Trump demand for stronger EU alignment on Russia. Here's a report today from Bloomberg. EU weighs trade measures aimed at Russian Druzhba oil pipeline. Okay, so this could be very big. Looks like the EU is thinking about another way to get Hungary and Slovakia to stop purchasing Russian oil. They want to impose tariffs onto Russia for any oil coming into the EU. This could definitely stop Hungary and Slovakia from purchasing that oil, as Russia would most likely not sell to them anymore if they were hit by these huge tariffs. And apparently it also only requires a majority vote, which would allow them to bypass Hungary and Slovakia from trying to veto any kind of vote on stopping the oil flows from Russia into the EU. So we know that Trump is putting pressure on the EU right now to cut off Russian oil purchases. That's primarily Slovakia and Hungary doing so. And then also they want them to impose sanctions onto China to stop China from purchasing Russian oil, also to help put an end to this war. That's when Trump will come in with sanctions and also back up Europe, and we could possibly see an end of the war. So could this be the way that Europe is planning to go with this situation to stop Hungary and Slovakia from getting this oil from Russia? You guys let me know what you think on that. Now, NOAA reports again, Russian channels are sounding the alarm over Ukraine's intensified drone campaign targeting oil and gas infrastructure, with 15 recorded strikes by September 20th, already surpassing August total. Refineries, fuel depots, and pumping stations across Russia are under sustained attack. Reports note growing fuel shortages and disruption of exports via the Black and Baltic Seas. All right, so apparently we've had already 15 recorded strikes just this month in September, already surpassing the amount of attacks that took place inside of August. So look at this. Ukraine is just really stepping this up month over month. Ever since the beginning of August is when we saw this huge campaign of Ukraine just really going after all these oil refineries and oil infrastructure inside of Russia. Look at all these different oil refineries and some of these ports that were being attacked up here on the northwestern side of Russia, like Ust-Luga Port, Primorsk Port. So Ukraine is going to continue doing this. They're getting better and better at this every day. This is completely unstoppable. Russia cannot prevent this any further. And if Ukraine keeps this up, I think it'll really damage Russia's economy to the point where at some point they might run out of fuel and they can't fight anymore inside of Ukraine. I think that's what Ukraine is banking on right now. They're hoping that Russia will run out of fuel so they can't continue fighting. Now for Max 25, Ukrainian air defense shot down or suppressed 552 out of 579 drones. Look at that success rate. That's crazy. 2 out of 8 Iskander-M KN-23 ballistic missiles and 29 out of 32 KH-101 cruise missiles. That's crazy how much they took out. A very good majority of these drones and missiles, look at that, 29 out of 32 KH-101s. We did see one of these 101 missiles slamming into an apartment building inside of Dnipro today. That video I showed you guys earlier, at least some sort of high-rise building was attacked. Only 2 out of 8 Iskander. These ballistic missiles are much harder to shoot down, so explains why we only have 2 out of 8 that were taken out. But yeah, that's crazy. 552 out of 579 drones being destroyed, although we still had massive damage across Ukraine being reported. So very good news here. Now from Kiev Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of September 20th, according to the armed forces of Ukraine. In our final update here, Russia's losses as of September 20th, 1,070 troops, 2 AFVs, 124 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 31 artillery systems, 365 UAVs, and it looks like that is it. So today, again, no MLRS launcher being destroyed. This is a multiple launch rocket system. We've been seeing 1 or 2 there per day, but today 0 for that category. Artillery systems, about average numbers. Tanks and AFVs still very low. We've been seeing almost nothing here in these categories at all recently. Vehicles and fuel tanks up a little bit, 124 today. And troop losses right at close to 1,100, up a little bit more today as well. I think yesterday we were sitting at like 1,150. So troop losses on the Russia side are starting to go up steadily here over the last few days. But aside from that, looks like that is it in terms of Russian losses. And I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in for today's update on September 20th, 2025 on Saturday. Hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And just a kind reminder, I most likely will not be here tomorrow unless something major happens. As usually, I'm not here on Sundays, but I will be returning on September 22nd on Monday. So have a great weekend, guys. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoyed my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.